What up, y'all? It's your guy Dawson from D&D TV. Thank you for rating, commenting, and subscribing. Everybody who's donated, those of you all who will, you know I appreciate it. All that information is in the description box below. Also, make sure you go over to my other YouTube channel, Dawson Speaks TV. Make sure you subscribe over there. And when you subscribe, hit that little bell next to the subscribe button so you get notifications when I drop a new video. Now let's get into this topic. All right, y'all. Now, this story is coming out of Florida. Now, don't even say it. I don't know what's going on with my state, but it seems like the only places that I get these stories out of is, of course, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, and also in New York or in Texas, and sometimes in Georgia. But it's like those states right there constantly stay in the news when it comes to clergymen. But nevertheless, let's get into it. As a Florida Department of Corrections education supervisor, Pastor Antonio Carlisle was supposed to help rehabilitate inmates. Instead, an inmate is accusing him of doing just the opposite when he alleges that the pastor raped him in prison. The Florida Department of Corrections Secretary Mark Inch released a statement saying that the charges against Pastor Carlisle are deeply disturbing and abhorrent. According to court records, Pastor Carlisle allegedly overpowered the inmate while he was supposed to be assisting him with his education. The documents say that Pastor Carlisle penetrated the victim without consent and proceeded with sexual intercourse. My Lord. So if all of this is true, the pastor is a rapist. He raped this inmate. And of course, yes, Pastor Carlisle is married. There go his wife, First Lady Carlisle. Wow, don't your wife deserve better than this? Don't your church deserve better than this? Your children? And this pastor is also in a fraternity, and if you look at his social media, he talks a lot about his fraternity. He's really into all of that. My fraternity. Don't your fraternity deserve better than this? And I know some of you all right now are saying, Dawson, come on, they could be lying on pastor. We don't know that pastor did this. Oh, no, not my pastor. Well, according to DNA, your pastor is a nasty bastard because his DNA tested positive to the DNA that was in the man. They swabbed the pastor's mouth, and of course, they performed a rape kit on the victim, and everything came out that the pastor was involved with this inmate. And also, when this story first came out, I said, let me wait a little bit. Let me not just jump and do this story, because people always think I expose it, but they never go to the news people. They always come to me. They expose it. I simply report the news again. So as I waited, and more information came out about the pastor, that in 2002, the pastor was involved in a similar incident where there was a young man who said that the pastor and another man overpowered him at the pastor's home, and the pastor held him down while the man assaulted him in 2002. And it was shocking to me when I read that in 2002, the young man dropped the charges, and then less than a year later, just about a year, the pastor became senior pastor at Greater True Vine Missionary Baptist Church. Wow. How the church can pay to make the abuse go away. At least that's what I think they did. Now, I'm going to let you all watch these news clippings, and you can watch these educated black folks and white folks talk about this because all of them went to university. Y'all big on that. They went to university. They researched. They're journalists. So listen to these good educated folks who went to university. They went to Yale and Harvard and Columbia, FSU, FAMU, Howard. They went to school. So listen to them, and when they get done talking, I'm going to come back and say what the hell I want to say on the YouTube show I created.
Shocking allegations against a local pastor. He's accused of raping a male prison inmate. Today, a shocked neighbor talked about the clergyman with News4 Jack's I-Team.
He talked about God. Yeah, he let us know, we need God in our life, and actually we got saved.
Right now, 45-year-old Antonio Carlisle is in the Duval County Jail. Aside from being the senior pastor at a church in Lake City, he's an education supervisor for the Florida Department of Corrections. News4 Jack's I-Team reporter Tarek Miner is joining us with what we know about this reported sex crime. Tarek?
Well, Tom, the alleged rape of a male prisoner occurred in August of last year while Antonio Carlisle was in a management role at the Florida State Prison. Investigators say they now have solid DNA evidence linking Carlisle to the crime. Reverend Antonio Carlisle has been the senior pastor of this Lake City church, the Greater True Vine Missionary Baptist Church, for the past 17 years, according to church members. They also tell the News4 Jack's I-Team it was common for Carlisle to talk about the good work he was doing at the Florida State Prison. But while employed as an education supervisor by the Department of Corrections, a male prisoner came forward in early August telling investigators that Carlisle physically overpowered and sexually assaulted him in prison. A sexual assault kit was collected from the victim, and a DNA cheek swab was taken from 45-year-old Carlisle just last week. The analysis of the DNA reveals a positive match. Carlisle's neighbors say it's all hard to believe.
That's crazy. That's bad. That's not good. I would never thought that about him. We didn't see that in him. He was always talking good. It just, shocking, man, to be honest.
Neighbor Bernard Wynn says Carlisle was often seen ministering to people in this Jacksonville community where he lived.
He talked about God. Yeah, he let us know, we need God in our life, and actually that we got saved, if not, repent and ask God to come into your life. You know how people do on the streets and stuff, Actually, yeah, he did all of that.
The Florida Department of Corrections issued this statement today saying the charges against Antonio Carlisle are deeply disturbing and abhorrent. His actions are absolutely the contrary to the core values of the FDOC. News4Jack's crime and safety expert Ken Jefferson says because of Carlisle's position as a Department of Corrections supervisor and a senior pastor, the judge may consider punishing him with the maximum penalty if convicted.
It is a little more serious crime simply because there's a betrayal of trust. You're entrusted to house inmates and you're responsible for their care, custody, and control. And if these allegations prove to be true, what has happened is that you have betrayed that trust.
So after our story aired at 5 o'clock, a former student emailed us saying that Carlisle was also her teacher at James Weldon Johnson Middle School years ago. His LinkedIn page says that he did indeed work for the Duval County School District. We are working to confirm that now with the district. Now, we also looked into Carlisle's criminal record. Back in 2003, he was arrested for sexual battery, but the victim dropped the charges then, and that was right around the same time that he took the position as the senior pastor of that Lake City church.
News4Jack's I-team has uncovered new information about the Lake City pastor accused of raping a Florida inmate in prison. At the time of the reported incident, Antonio Carlisle was also employed as an education supervisor for the Department of Corrections. Tarek is joining us now. And Tarek, since our story aired last week, we received several emails from people who say they knew him.
I mean, if Carlisle's name and face sound familiar to some people in Duval County, that's because Antonio Carlisle used to work as a business education teacher at James Weldon Johnson College Prep, according to the district. Now, we've also uncovered Carlisle's 2002 arrest report for a sexual battery which allegedly occurred inside his house near McCoy's Creek. Just like the prison inmate alleges, the victim in the 2002 case claims that Carlisle held him down and sexually assaulted him. The victim eventually dropped the case against Carlisle a year later, and we wanted to know why. The 2002 sexual assault happened here, according to police, at Antonio Carlisle's Jacksonville home. The male victim claimed that Carlisle and another man, only identified as suspect number 2, drove him here and once inside sexually assaulted him with force. The victim told detectives suspect 2 grabbed him and with Carlisle's help pushed him to the floor. The victim says Carlisle held him down while suspect number 2 sexually assaulted him for approximately 5 minutes before letting him go. A medical examination immediately after the attack revealed the victim had trauma consistent with a sexual battery. Carlisle was arrested and charged with being a principal in the first degree, but a year later, court records reveal the case was dropped. News4Jax is still waiting on information from the state attorney's office as to why the charges were abandoned. The allegations, however, of being held down by force by Carlisle are similar to the claims a Florida inmate made last August, where the victim claims Carlisle forcibly raped him inside Florida State Prison. Carlisle was permitted to continue working as the prison's education supervisor for more than 4 months, even after the inmate told jail officials what happened and submitted to DNA testing. It wasn't until January 31st that an order was placed on Carlisle to have no contact with inmates. In fact, News4Jax has learned that Carlisle helped oversee the graduation of 15 inmates from a vocational training program on the same day corrections officers took a swab of his DNA. 5 days later, analysis of Carlisle's DNA came back as a positive match. So we asked Department of Correction officials why Antonio Carlisle was allowed to continue working in the jail more than 4 months after being accused of rape. The spokesman only told us that this is an ongoing criminal investigation and releasable information is limited at this time. Now, Carlisle, who used to be a senior pastor at a Lake City church, remains now in the Duval County Jail on a $1.5 million bond. Tom?
All right, y'all, let's go in. Now, I'm not going to hold y'all long on this video, but I do want to point out a couple of things. But first of all, to the Florida State Prison, can somebody please explain to me why this man was able to work there 4 months after the allegations were made against him by that inmate? I don't understand that. And then you all heard the news reporters say that he was able to oversee, I think it was in January, he was able to oversee graduation for inmates who graduated out the vocational class that he was a part of. He was able to, be a part of that. And that was the day that they swabbed his mouth. And when I heard this story, it reminded me of the story that I did a couple of months ago with Pastor Matthew Mellerson up in Virginia. See, I told you them stories come out of Virginia. In Richmond, Virginia, I believe it was, who was basically accused of a similar situation when he was a counselor, a chaplain at that prison, and he was going into the so-called secret room or the prayer room or whatever they called it, the encouraging room, and he was doing the same thing with inmates. And he's a pastor, and this man is a pastor too. So it seems to me that the prisons and the jails across the USA need to do a better job at vetting these people who work in your facility or who come there as counselors and who come there to preach to people as well. Because remember the pastor I did the video down in Sarasota who's charged with the sexual assault on children, and that stuff is coming out. He was in the prisons as well, preaching to the young men, talking to people. So you guys got to do a better job at vetting these people, not only when it comes to jails or prisons, but also in schools and also in our churches. These people are in our society. And really, it makes me upset because I know some people want to say, Dawson, what about him being married and, he's doing this to a man and all that? Well, if you look at the videos that I've done, many other YouTubers have done, and just what's in the news now, you don't even have to look at YouTube videos. All of this stuff is going on. It seems like the worst stuff that's happening is happening in churches or people who consider to be the men of the cloth or by women of the cloth. These people have no filter. And it's sad because people go into these institutions, these den of iniquities is what I call them, churches, and they're looking for God. They're not going there to get abused. They're not going there to follow someone who's going to bring them back to their home and overpower them and hold them down while someone sexually assaults them. They're not going in there to have someone to berate them in front of the church or to do any type of verbal abuse across the pulpit. People are sincerely going to churches looking for God. They're not going for this stuff. But what we have is people who are not called, people who have a narcissistic personality, and it's all about them, what they can get, how they can shine. And some people are just they're sexually deviant. They are in leadership positions and they're taking advantage of people who are vulnerable, not only in churches, but as you can see, this pastor right here, a man who was in prison. You're taking advantage of the vulnerable, and it is really sad. Now, let me get on this situation because I know some of y'all are thinking about his wife, and there they go right there. They went to Tuskegee University. Tuskegee, shout out to y'all. I don't know if y'all want to shout out on this video, but there'd go. His wife. Now, when I was looking at the pictures of his wife and him and his family and everything, I was sad just a little, not much. Not much. I really wasn't sad because you all know and you all feel the same way. Some of these men and women and some of these church people, you all know the type of leader that you have. And this lady knew going in what her husband was accused of in 2002. And I think the charges was dropped around about 2003. That was the kind of discrepancy with both news videos. The charges were dropped in 2003. During that time, they were dating in college. They had already been together. So she knew these allegations about him in 2002 with him and the man pinning down that young man. Those charges were dropped. So I'm thinking that the first lady was like, okay, well, those charges was dropped. That's the devil coming against my husband. We just gonna go on with the kingdom work. But here we are now, First Lady, 2020, and your husband is behind bars. You had a lonely Valentine's Day. Your husband is behind bars. And it is so sad because I can't feel sorry for you because some of these women and men who are with people in leadership roles, some of you all know what's going on. You know the type of woman you married. You know the type of man you married. And now, since you all hide that part of them and you all try to stay there for the position or whatever it is, because maybe you truly do love him or her, and maybe the money may be good, and maybe, you know, the clout. Oh, I'm first lady, or I'm pastor, or I'm with this person, or I'm this. You know, everybody love titles. And because you love that so much, now everyone knows you and him for this situation right here. And I know people, I was reading some of the comments. A lot of people are commenting on social media and also on the news websites. You know, I hope he's not married. I hope he doesn't have a wife. And then they read it. Oh my God, this is embarrassing. But I don't really feel sorry, a little bit, just a little bit, for the wife, because some of y'all know what's going on and you stay right there. Let this be a lesson to all of you all who think that preaching and being in front of the cameras and all this kind of stuff and basically playing with God, let this be a warning to you all. You should pick another career. You should pick another career. Some of you are not called. Some of you are doing it because you have the gift of gab. You have, you know, you can speak well, and you know, you go be a motivational speaker. Go do what Tony Robinson is doing. Do what Iyanla Van Zant does. Do what Lisa Nichols does. That doesn't mean you have to go be a pastor. Now, some people tell me, "Oh, Dawson, you could be what you." And look here, Dawson will cuss and fuss and be ready to fight. Dawson is not prepared to be nobody pastor. And see, because Dawson knows that, Dawson not playing with that. And some of you others should not play with that. And some people have played with it and it failed, and now they doing other things. Now, some people are called and others are not. But you all do not jump into it because you all see the lights, the camera, and you want to talk like the prophetess and talk like the bishop and get this. And I want people to look at me and I want to be able to speak over people's life. You don't know what you're asking for. Let this be a warning to all of you all. Quit playing with God. That's all I got to say on this video. I don't have to go any further with that. That's all I want to say. Y'all better stop playing with God. Stop lying to these people. Stop getting up in these pulpits. Stop getting up and being a televangelist. And then the stuff you did, molesting children and cheating on your wife and doing all this stuff, it comes out that you're not really off drugs. That you're not really... Y'all, somebody said on one of the videos I did, they said these people just don't fear. They don't fear God. You're in a position where you're saying you're calling yourself a man of God, a woman of God, and you all really don't fear God. So I'm going to leave this video alone. I'm going to let y'all keep on playing and keep on seeing what happens. And as long as y'all keep on playing, we just going to have more videos to do. And that's what we're going to keep doing here on Dawson Speak TV. I want all of y'all to go off in the comments, say exactly what you want to say, and tell me your stories. Because I know this ain't the only story y'all done heard about this. And some of y'all know this, man. And some of you will hit me up. Oh, Dawson, I know him personally. I know this. Put it down in the comments. Let the people know. I know some people up in Jacksonville know what's going on. And some of you all who were on the website saying, oh, pray for the church, pray for the pastor. Yeah, pray for the church and the pastor, but also pray for the victims too. Pray for the victim who in 2002 dropped those charges because I believe he was pressured to, or maybe he just didn't have the right, lawyers or whatnot to fight this. But I believe he was pressured to drop those charges. But if everything that they said in 2002 was correct, that he did a rape kit and it came back, that he was assaulted, imagine what that man has gone through basically all these years. Y'all better stop playing games and stop playing with people's lives. If you're not called to do it, don't do it. Until next time, it's your guy Dawson. Take care of yourself and each other. Peace.